For the next section of our course, material creation and settings, we have to set up a couple of things in order to work easily. And the first thing I'm going to do is open this material-based scene that already contains some objects, among them a light source and an environment, so that we have a simple base scene to test how everything is affected. And another thing we have to do is set up our rendering engine. Why is that? If I would open right now my material editor with either clicking up here or with M, I see that it's not loading. And this goes for both for V-Ray or any other rendering engine that I have. I have to first load the plugin. For that, we go to the render setup. That's either with F10 or as well up here, or I can alternatively go directly to the V-Ray rendering settings. So I'm going to go to the render setup, and in the target, the production render, right now it's in the Skyline render, which is the base one for 3D Studio Max. And I'm going to set it up to V-Ray. And if I go right now to my material editor, then now I actually see my material and I see all my material, my V-Ray materials. So for the sake of this course, I'm actually going to set it up to iterative mode, which is the active shade mode, and it's set up automatically to the V-Ray RT. So if I press on render, I already have something here. And the reason why I do this is because some of the metal and glass materials I won't be able to see in my viewport, and I want to be able to test it here, as well as the displacement map is not going to be visible on the viewport. So if you want to use this scene to test your own materials, I would suggest that you can either copy or merge the environment and the light into your scene, or copy your objects into this scene. The way we do that is we go to the 3D Max logo and then import, and then you have import and merge. So import is for formats that are not from 3D Max, and merge is for objects that are already created in Max. And it's as simple as just clicking here and importing it. And for example, if I go to my scenes and I go to this Nikon file that you already saw, I can select to just import the geometry and select a specific geometry, or I can tell it to just take the lights. That's just for you to see, but of course right now you are not going to be importing lights unless you are merging the light from this file to your file. So now let's go over to the material editor. I'm going to press M to open it. Okay, and let's say I'm going to change this material into a blue. Okay, and to create a material, I just look for the basic V-Ray material here on the left and drag it. And I have my V-Ray material. I'm going to call this one, double click to change the name, blue. And I'm going to call this one red. Double click on it and change it to red. So what happens if I click on this? I'm not on the blue one, and you can see it because this is still red. You have to always keep in mind to double click, and you know which one you have selected because of this dotted line. Another thing that I want to make clear is the importance of the name of the material. I can actually look for the material here, okay, or I have all my materials here at the bottom in the scene materials. I also have the sample slots there. This I have more materials because I have them already here on the file. Okay, and you can also, in this triangle, open materials from different files. So if I go to another file, actually I don't have material libraries, but I can open a 3D Max file, and I might have in this file, I might have a material. And it's going to load all the materials that I already have, for example, this one. Okay, so it's really important that you have a clear naming convention for your materials, because the more files you have, the less you have to create materials. And in a production, you might have similar materials with similar characteristics. Another thing you have here, you can create new views to separate it, say, for rubber and plastic to metals. And the way I do the naming convention, I start with whether if it's plastic or metals or wood or glass. Then I define whether it is matte or glossiness or the surface is rough. Then I add probably a color and then some specification, like maybe it's the rubber from a seat or it's the rubber from a pencil. And finally, to apply the material, I can, yes, click on the material. I don't have to double click for that, and click the output and drag it on the material. Or I can just select the material, and right now the object is not selected. I have to select the object, and now I can assign the material to selection.